Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. My name is Louisa Havers, and I help high achievers, entrepreneurs, and coaches lift the lid on life and business so that they can live at their highest value. Each episode, we will bring you our favourite founders, CEOs, and guest experts to share with you their insights and strategies to expand your wealth consciousness, your spiritual leadership, and aligned business strategies. We know that living in alignment with your soul's mission is what fulfills you, and we are here to show you how to achieve this in an energetically aligned way. If you haven't already, be sure to claim your free abundance activation in the Akashic Records. Go to louisahavers.com/gift to unlock your abundance activation today. And if you'd like my support in having aligned success in life and business, then contact me at www.louisahavers.com and let's explore together if it's an aligned match. Get ready to live at your highest value and to expand into your next level of money as you elevate and receive more. You create more for others. Righty ho, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to our Infinite Prosperity Podcast show. I'm so excited and honoured. We have the incredible Emily Bourke here today, who is a manifestation and shadow work coach. Welcome, Emily.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, thank you for joining me. I know it's getting late where you are. I'm going to just share your bio just so people kind of get to get to know you. And then we're going to dive right in because we've got a really juicy conversation today about shadow alchemy. And that is because Emily is a manifestation and shadow work teacher and coach. She is passionate about guiding women into their shadow self to alchemize their pain into purpose. She is the host of the Authentic Alchemy podcast. It's an amazing podcast, and is an advocate for authenticity and helping women create their most authentically led dream life. Fantastic. I love it. I can't wait to dive into our conversation today. So I love to ask you, as we are talking about infinite prosperity, is what does prosperity mean to you before we start diving into all the things?
I've been feeling into this all day, actually. And the thing that keeps coming up here is that that's a feeling. It's like an embodied feeling. It's not this thing that's outside of us. It's not even necessarily a material thing. It's the embodiment of, for me, it feels like freedom and a really regulated, grounded sense of I am always provided for. Am able to create and be and do anything that I choose to do or be or have, and that I will be supported in that, and that there is an infinite supply of whatever it is that I'm calling in, and that there is no limit. And that, for me, is what prosperity feels like to me. Is it's very in the body. Like this is an audio platform, so you can't see, but I'm very much touching my body here. It's a physical embodiment for sure.
I love that. You're absolutely right. It is because we ultimately are seeking feelings, aren't we? And that's why we
Mhm.
do the things that we do, is because we want to feel in a certain way. So that just really resonates. I love it. How did you start your business? Because everyone's got a journey, pivotal moments along the way as to why they're doing what they do now. I would love to know, how did you get to be doing all the amazing things that you're doing now?
There are so many different stories that I could tell, like threads. I don't know about you, but like I almost see like the threads of how things unfold like through life, and there's so many different kinds of trails that I could talk about here. But the one that really comes through is if I kind of rewind back a few years to well, particularly my childhood, I was always seen as this very happy, cheery person, and that was who I was, and that really is genuinely who I am at my core. That is like I am a happy, cheery person, and I'm very positive and optimistic. And if you talk to anybody who knew me as a child, they were like, you were just always smiling and wanting to talk to people and those kinds of things. And people would always tell me, I enjoy being around you because you're always happy.
Mm.
And through my in my early 20s, I experienced sexual assault and quite big trauma there. And
Mm,
what happened as a result of that was I essentially suppressed the memory, and I didn't remember it. I actually changed the memory in my mind. It wasn't that it was just gone. It was just that I which when we understand trauma and that our body does that as a protective mechanism, it's too painful to think about, so we can morph the
mm,
memory in our mind. And I spent 3 years, with kind of this big mask on my face, and, everything is okay, everything's fine, I'm just gonna keep on doing what I'm doing. But underneath the surface, I was experiencing this, like, debilitating anxiety, and very much felt like I couldn't express what was really going on. I actually didn't know how to. I really didn't know how to. I didn't actually know how to say the words. I couldn't say the words for 3, and as soon as I started to remember what was going on and started to acknowledge that something was not feeling good and not right, I remember I could think the words, "I was raped." But I couldn't even say them out loud to myself. I couldn't get it out. And and it makes me think about, I'll never my mum always would say that she always knew when I was about to burst into tears because a massive smile would go on my face. And I have memories of her going, "Emily, you know that you can cry right now." And I would just burst into tears because I was just holding it all together, which, um, I think there's a little bit of nature versus nurture there as well. I am in my astrology charts, I am very much like I put up the front and make it all work. But it's what really happened is over a few years there, I was working with a psychologist with some other stuff that was going on, and I never forget, it took me 9 months. I decided, it was January in 2018, and I said, I'm going to go into my session today and I'm going to tell her. And I went in there and I got to the end of the session and I was like, "Ugh, I didn't say it. I didn't. I just talked about other random crap for the whole time." And this kept on going for 9 months until I got to the end of the session. And literally, I was in the car park afterwards, and I emailed her from my phone in the car and I said, "Next time, I need you to ask me about something that I have been not telling you because I actually can't say the words out loud." And that was just kind of this unraveling of. I then worked with her over about a year or yeah, about a year from then, um, working through this. But what I discovered, and this is where my business really comes into play, um, is I realized that there was only so much that I could get out of talking about it. There was only, and I had a very holistic psychologist. She was incredible. I adore her, but it only got me so far.
mm,
There was actually energetic blocks within my body and within my subconscious that were desperate to be cleared. And, I then went on for, a couple of years there feeling like everything was okay, and, I could express it and it was all good. But there was this deep underlying pain that was going on. And what I now know to be true is it wasn't just that particular trauma. It was every little pain that I experienced throughout my entire life that just was never expressed. And and past lifetimes and generational traumas and things like that were not expressed. And in 2019 and 2020, I started to get tap into a little bit more of spirituality on a more embodied way. I've always been very intuitive and believed in manifestation. And there's plenty of stories that I could tell there that I won't go into right now. But I ended up with this incredible coach doing some incredible embodiment work, which really allowed me to express and move and alchemize that stagnant energy that was within me, within that shadow self, and actually allow that beautiful shadow version of myself to be seen and heard and understood, and not feel like she's not worthy of anything. And what I discovered over working in this way over a couple of years is that by pulling that version of ourselves out of the, that pit of darkness, if we want to, make it super
Mm.
dramatic, we're actually able to use her in a really beautiful, positive way and as fuel towards what we're manifesting. And this is where, I over the past 2 years, I've been, really creating my own personal brand and really creating groundedness, if that's a word, in what I really want to teach and what my message is. And it keeps coming back to manifestation, but then there was this really deep calling around this shadow work, and I was like, well, that's what it is we can't have one without the other. They go hand in hand. We don't want to stay in the shadow, but we can't just go say our positive affirmations and dance around in the light and expect
No.
to get everything that we want. They go hand in hand. And for me, that has been the most empowering way of teaching, you know, creating our life on our terms, for myself and for, the people in my community and my clients.
Mm.
Um, and that's really where, my business has come through. And my podcast is Authentic Alchemy, and it's all about, alchemizing that shadow to be able to create that authentically led life. And that's that's how I got here.
Oh, wow, Emily, and thank you for sharing your journey so openly, because I think you've really spoken from the heart, and so many people are going to really resonate with the experience that you've had. Because it is, unfortunately, sexual assault is more common than we as globally than we want to think. As different societies, because we have listeners from all around the world. So I know that there's going to be people who have also personally been affected and will really be very grateful for you sharing so openly. So thank you so much. And it is one of these things that I think that we need to talk about this more, so that it's safe, feels safer for people to say those words. Like you were, I could really feel it when you were saying that, just the words would not come out.
Mhm.
And so thank you so much, because it just gives permission for everyone else to be able to um, start to say the words where they need to say the words. I'd love to kind
But
of go back a bit.
I was
So
just gonna say something just feels really like it's just calling at me to say
go
is a
for it.
big thing that held me back from actually even admitting to myself that that's what happened, was because it wasn't what I thought sexual assault looked like. It wasn't this like horrific kind of like violent, it was its own thing.
Mhm.
But I think that is its own thing. So just for anybody who is listening, who is resonating with that, is there are infinite forms of what that looks like. And essentially, if you did not consent to something, then that is sexual assault. And the energy, and we can talk about that later, particularly talking about prosperity and abundance, but the impact of that on your ability to attract and your energetic kind of field is huge. It's beyond what our mind can comprehend. So I just felt very cold to say that, is that it
Mm,
can look very, very different for every single woman. And that stopped me from saying anything for a long time.
thank you. That is really important, because we can
Mhm.
tell ourselves, we can make ourselves wrong, can't we, by saying it's not this, that, and the other, or whatever we've decided it's going to look like
Mm.
from various
Mm.
Hollywood movies or other people's experiences, or whatever is coming into our field. Yeah, that's really, really important. I always say to
Mm.
people, if it feels wrong, it is. It's,
Mhm.
that's your
Yeah,
guidance. Um,
yeah.
to be able to recognize that. You've mentioned a couple of terms I just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page with,
Mhm.
because I know what you're talking about, but it's that when we're talking about shadow, what is our shadow self? And I'd love to hear you dive into that a little bit more and how it impacts our daily lives.
Mm. There's a lot of different kind of definitions around shadow work, and I've read a million and one of them, and so I'm going to give my version of it in the way that I see it. And I am quite visual and very kinesthetic, so I very much see and feel. So take what feels good, and you know, I think it's open to interpretation as well. But what I mean when I talk about shadow selves is essentially the unhealed, unexpressed, and unseen versions of ourselves. And when I say versions of ourselves, it's versions of us from any point in time, whether that be past, present, future. Um, and that's very abstract notion. When we talk about, past, because that can be a little bit more concrete for us. It can be a past version of ourselves, the 6-year-old version of ourselves that was told to be quiet, at the dinner table. Your children are seen and not heard. And the thing is we can then get trapped in that point in time, and hide that version of ourselves in that pain because it doesn't get to fully express and be seen and be heard. And particularly when we talk about the feminine, and we all have feminine and masculine energy, but the feminine in particular is dying to be seen, is dying to be heard and understood. It's like the core of what she wants is just to be seen. So trapping her in the shadow is very um disempowering. So every single one of us has shadow selves. Every single one of us has parts of us that we hide in our shadow. Now the thing is though, is that we hide them subconsciously. We never deliberately do this. We never consciously do this. We do this subconsciously. And we we just because we've hidden that version of ourselves doesn't mean that they don't have a massive impact on our lives. They're
Mm.
actually the ones that are in the driver's seat. And we're trying to, uh, create new patterns and um, new experiences in our lives. But that 6-year-old version of you is still driving the driver's seat of your life going, "Nobody's letting me use my voice. Like, I can't say what I need to say because I was told to be quiet." And that plays out in many different ways, and, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it plays out in you being silent. It can play out in the opposite where you don't shut up. And that was me for a very long time, is I had a very overactive throat chakra, and I still catch myself sometimes going, "What am I doing? I'm literally just talking over the top of somebody," and I stop and I go, "I'm so sorry. Please finish what you were saying,"
Mm.
because that shadow self is, almost having a tantrum
Mm.
in that shadow, and it can there's so many different ways, and I really like to put pictures to it and really, look at these versions of ourselves as, these beautiful, uh, children, or, parts of us, past parts of us, or even future parts of us that just want to be seen. And when we can look at them with compassion, we're able to actually release the charge that's there. And it's very, very, very powerful. And there can there can also be parts of us that we may just not like about ourselves, but they're a part of us. And a part of me was very, I, don't know, I keep coming back to the voice, but I hid that need to share a message for a very long time. I had a high school teacher tell me to shut up and that my voice was so annoying in
Oh
front of
my
the entire
god.
class. And the thing is, and like how funny now, because now I have a podcast and I am talking on social media all the time, and on other people's podcasts, but
And keep
that like
talking, Emily.
I know. And I always thought, like, like, I believed him, and I was like, "My voice is annoying, like, people do find my voice annoying." But the thing is that for every one person that finds it annoying, there's, like, 1,000 that are like, "I just wanna listen to everything that you have to say." And the
Exactly.
thing Yes, yes, and there's also elements where it can feel scary to express ourselves in that way because we're afraid of the positive ramifications of what might happen if we let that part of ourselves out, you know? There's a part of me that also always knew that my voice was very powerful and my words were very powerful. So, uh-oh, well, what if I start expressing it and then I have more people listening to me, and then there's more responsibility, or, I reach more people, and, maybe I make more money, and then there's more money that I need to handle, and that's a bit scary. So I think I'll just stay where I am doing what I've always done because this is safe. And again, this is not happening on a conscious level. We're not aware of this. This is all subconscious. And when we start to do shadow work, it's just being coming aware of these patterns, like I was just very, explicit in explaining. That's just one of many, many, many patterns that I've become aware of over time, and there's power in that because it
Mm.
holds less charge, because instead of it catching us by surprise and kind of being on, I almost imagine like the GPS kind of directing us.
Yes.
It's actually us going, knowing the way and going, "I can see that it's trying to take me down, like, North Road, but I know that there's roadworks over there, so I'm actually going to take this route."
Mm.
And, those kinds of things, we actually get to recognize, I can see that it's trying to take me over there, but I know why it's trying to take me over there because it doesn't know any better, but I know better and I can do this way. So it's very, very, very powerful when we go into our shadow. It can be a little bit scary sometimes, especially at the beginning, but it's also the most beautiful, beautiful place to kind of go and nourish ourselves for sure.
I love the analogy of the GPS and how the subconscious is taking you to where it thinks you want to go. I'm sure everyone can recognize that. The amount of times I've done that where I intend to go to Brighton and I'm starting to take that same route, and then I just find myself driving somewhere different. My sons will go, "Mum, where are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to pick you up." "Why am I going to pick you up? You're in the car." You know, because the subconscious is just taken over and thinks, "Yeah, I've got this. I know where I'm going." No, you don't
Mhm.
know where you're going. We're going to Brighton, not wherever you decided. And it's just such a good tangible analogy for everyone to kind of go, aha, yeah, I can see that in my road driving behavior. And this is playing out in your business and in
Mhm.
relationships and all aspects of life. I
Yeah,
loved what you said about the one that's hidden is the one that's in the driving seat.
yeah,
Really wanted to
yeah,
kind of highlight that because I was like, that's an Emily Bourke quote. Like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
that, that's so good.
and
Um,
really think about it. Would you let a 6-year-old drive your car? Like, would you sit in the back seat and let a 6-year-old drive your car? Drive you around? No,
no, but we have her running the
absolutely
business. It's like, no, what
no.
are we doing?
No, no, no. Even think about it like what I, do, like, even thinking about, like, going to work, for instance. I wouldn't let 10 years ago me drive current me to work because they would be driving somewhere else. They're
Mm,
driving to a different place. I
yes.
want to drive to the place that I'm trying to go now.
That's a really good point. Really good point. I
Mm,
think that just really gives everyone a visual of how we can see how the impact of the subconscious in our work and in our manifestations. And you touched on the piece around as we're growing and becoming more visible and speaking to more people and our businesses are growing, that our relationship with responsibility is really key with how much we will allow ourselves to grow. And of course, 6-year-old version of ourselves doesn't really want to be responsible.
no.
I mean, being a child is probably one of the most fun times it could be because you could just have fun, and mum and dad,
Mm,
for most people, took care of the responsibilities. Of course, that wasn't everybody's experience, and then some
mm,
children had to kind of be the parent and all the things, and our relationship with responsibility gets distorted in so many different ways along our journey. And we just spoke about, how this is impacting, daily life. And I'd love to, you mentioned about how it's the most important thing, like being able to do the shadow work is can be very painful. Like people don't want to do it, but it has a huge impact on manifestation. I'd love to hear, how it relates to manifestation from your perspective.
Mm. There's two analogies that I could give. One is like trying to sprinkle glitter on a turd. Is like trying to like do the manifestation. I apologize. In Australia, we're a little bit crass. But it's also like I really love this. Is it's trying to attract with a dirty magnet. Think about when you get like a magnet that's, if you've ever played with magnets, and they kind of link together and you like pull them and you feel that gravitational pull. When the magnets get really dirty, um, they don't pull together as well. And the more dirty they are, the less that gravitational pull. Um, and the thing is, it's not that you can't attract with a dirty magnet. You can, but when you clean up the magnet, it becomes like automatic. It becomes like, let me think about how I want to phrase this. It's the attraction of your desire becomes a byproduct of who you be
Mm,
because your energy is so clean that it just the things that you desire they just
mm.
flow to you, and you don't have to do anything, you're just being. And when I say you don't have to do anything, there's still action, aligned
Yeah,
action and everything that
yeah,
you take, but you don't have to do this like, I want to make $1 million, so that means I need to work a million times harder to be able to make that happen. It's if I clean up my magnet, I actually attract more. It's almost becomes like a compounding of who you are. It becomes like an amplification of who you be. And there's a lot of talk in the manifestation world, and a lot of manifestation teachers who are beautiful. And I think that there is a place for that. That it is a lot of just feel good, do your affirmations, do this process, visualize this thing, meditate, and they all have a place. I do all those things. I do all of those things. They are incredible things. One of my favorite um, people or the authors, whatever you is Abraham Hicks.
mm,
Esther and Jerry Hicks, who are incredible. And I think it was Catherine Zenkina, who's the manifestation babe, said this, and like ages ago, and it really landed for me. She's like, Abraham Hicks is, and if you don't know who they are, they're like uh, what would you call it? Like a
so a
spirit,
being,
yeah,
a connection of consciousness that
yeah,
Esther Hicks
yeah.
channels. Yeah.
There you go. So and they get, and they, and Catherine Zenkina, she said, That's amazing." And they are not a human being.
Mm,
They are not a human being. A human being has real feelings, experiences of wide, like the whole scope of emotions. And we're actually we are meant to experience pain. We're here on earth to experience all emotions. None are good and none are bad. They
mm,
are all neutral. Emotions are simply just messages trying to continue to point us in the direction of our desires. When we experience quote unquote negative emotions, it's simply energy moving through us, and or it's a message trying to tell us that maybe this whatever we're experiencing right now isn't in alignment with the desires that we've put out there. And the thing is, and this is where people get really really stumped, is around the like meaning making. They're like, well, I have this feeling, so this means that this must be here. But we can be processing emotions from like years and
mm.
years ago, generations and generations back, and they don't mean anything. They're just expressing and they're just moving through us. And the thing is our incredible brain, I love our brain, but oh my God, it causes us so much trouble sometimes. is
Likes to make up
it
stories.
yes, and it's a
Yeah.
meaning-making machine, and
Mm.
it attaches meaning to everything. But emotions are energy in motion, so it's energy, and energy is beyond the mind's comprehension. Our mind can't comprehend, like, 99,999 point blah, 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 that's not a real number, but we'll go with it,
I'm liking
percent
this number, Emily.
um, of what happens energetically. When we have energetic shifts, the mind will try and make a story, make it make meaning, make it make sense, but it can't fully comprehend what's going on. So when we start to clean up our magnet, when we start to release the charge in these versions of ourselves that are in our shadow self, we we have the choice to let go of any meaning it holds. And when we first dive into this work, it can be really beautiful going, I just released, this trauma from like my past, and it feels really good to do so. And it can be like a huge trap on the flip side where people just get trapped in the shadow work side and forget that like the shadow just wants the light. And once the light comes, don't resist the light. Like go into it, go and be into it. And there's one really big key here is whatever we've hid in our shadow, we have numbed in some way. When we're numbing that experience out because it's too painful. We don't want to experience it, so we've shoved it into kind of like a imaginary cupboard, so that we don't have to look at it and we don't have to feel it. The thing is that we can't numb the painful or challenging emotions without also numbing to the same extent the positive emotions. And I like to think about it as, the visual that I see is if you kind of see like an emotional scale, with like in the middle is kind of like neutrality of like not really feeling much, it's just
Mm,
kind of neutral. And up the top is, all the way up to, joy, gratitude, love, appreciation, freedom right at the top. And down the bottom is, despair. If we've numbed, say, like 5 stages down the scale from that center point, we've also numbed the up to the fifth from that middle,
mm.
if that's making sense.
Yes, yeah.
But we can't if we the depth to which we're willing to experience those painful emotions directly correlates to our, capacity to experience all of those juicy, delicious emotions like joy and love and gratitude. And the thing is those emotions are where we are most magnetic. Those emotions are where we experience the most abundance, the most, um, love, the most prosperity, the most kind of connectedness to ourselves, and just the most of everything that we desire.
Mm,
So if there's ever a reason to want to go in there, I promise you it's like a springboard. You're not digging forever. You come down and you bounce off this springboard and you catapult to heightened emotions, and that's not the right word, but those higher vibrational emotions and states of being beyond what you can possibly comprehend.
yeah. And to be able to really feel them, that's such a key piece. Just wanted to highlight what you said there around, if you numb the pain, you're numbing it's as above, so below. And if I
Mhm.
visualizing the emotional scale in my mind is whatever you've numbed out above, you've numbed it out below, and vice versa. And so it is absolutely key, as you said, to be able to do that work so you're able to allow yourself to feel, because your feeling is your magnetism.
Mhm.
And often people might think that oh, I'm happy. But it's like a numbed happiness. It's
Mhm.
it's I completely relate to this. This is part of my journey as well, recognizing where you just kind of it's like you cut your head off from your body so that you're just living
Mhm.
it. I see this a lot with corporate people. So for our corporate listeners, all those that have transitioned into the entrepreneurial world, where in the corporate world they just want your head, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
many places, not in all the places, but in many places they just want your head, and so you kind of get used to cutting off your feelings and numbing yourself out. And then you don't realize what you're missing out on because you're literally just kind of living here and your body's kind of freaking out underneath, going, hang on,
Yeah.
what's going on? I'm completely stressed out. You haven't processed this, that, and the other. And so it is so important to be able to, my language is connect the head and the heart so that you can allow this alchemy that you're talking about to happen. I know you
Mhm.
use the term shadow alchemy. I would love to tell everybody what you mean by shadow alchemy. It probably builds on what you've already been talking about, but just to kind of help people really understand and conceptualize that term.
Mm.
I think it's beautiful, beautiful term.
Oh, I bloody love it. It just, like, encapsulates. I was like when it came to me, I was like, "That's it, that's what it is." And it is really exactly what I've just been talking about. It is the way that I like to kind of, explain it is the transmutation, or which is just transmutation of energy within our shadow to amplify the manifestation of our desires. So, again, I'm very, very visual. If you imagine that there's a certain amount of, energy, and energy is, uh, what is it? It's perpetual. Is that the right word? So it's forever. There's no more growing, there's no less, it doesn't go anywhere, it just is. So if you imagine that you have like an amount of energy that everybody has, like an energy bar, and we kind of distribute that energy into different places. Now imagine you've maybe got like 10% of your energy um there trying to, and I'm deliberately using the word trying,
Hmm.
to manifest new clients or a new house or a new partner, whatever it is. And you're trying. But, maybe you've got 20% of your energy is like all in your brain trying to like get work done. And then you've got like 30 or 70% of your energy is there trying to keep the lid on that, like, or that door closed on that shadow cupboard, and trying to keep all of those versions of you in your shadow, trying to keep them down and trying to keep them hidden, not only from the world, but from yourself. And that's a lot of energy that could be used to distribute further into that creation of what you desire. So imagine if we went in there and we grabbed that little version of ourselves, that 6-year-old version, that 12-year-old version, that 17-year-old version. We grabbed their hand and we held them in our arms and we said, "I hear you, I see you. What do you need? How can I support you?" And most of the time, they just want to be seen, and they just want to be felt. They just want somebody to actually look at them. And we take them out. And you know what happens? Is that energy that was held trying to hold that door closed, we get to redistribute that towards something that we do want. And the thing is that version of ourselves, that, 17-year-old version of ourselves that's really angry, actually starts cheering for us,
Mhm.
actually starts feeling on board and safe with what we're creating. Because that's another really key aspect, is these versions of ourselves don't feel safe in any other new reality. They're trying to hold on, they're trying to pull us back out of love to where they are, because that's what they know and that's what's familiar. And that's, the subconscious mind's kind of design is to keep us safe, the ego to keep us safe in the familiar, even if the familiar is really crap. Like, even if the familiar is
So
actually
true.
not physically safe, it will keep trying to bring us back there because it's what we know, it's what it knows. So when we hold their hand and we go, "This is where I see you. I hear that you are scared. I hear that you are angry. I hear that you are sad. I love you. I'm not forgetting about you. In fact, I'm going to spend some time with you." And there's so many different ways that you can do that. we start to kind of bring them with us. Imagine if you were taking a child somewhere new that they had never been, that you expected that maybe it might be a little bit scary for them. Would you yell at them and go, "Just pull it together, figure it out"? No. You would go, "Come on, like, let's go here. I'll hold your hand. Well, let's talk about what you're afraid of. Let's have a little bit of a look. Let's look at it from a logical point of view. Hey, let's like walk in together. Let's do it together."
Mm.
Because you know what? If you're trying to, take them into, I don't know, um, a theme park and they're really scared of the roller coasters and you're going, "Come on, like don't be ridiculous. This is going to be so much fun." You know what they're going to do? They're going to stomp their little foot and they are not coming in. They will scream and they will drag you back out to the car.
Yeah.
I've worked with children for 13 years. I promise you that is what will happen.
You get me going, an adult version of me going to a roller coaster park. I would be doing that. I don't like them. Emily, I'm not going. My inner child would be coming out.
So
That's
funny.
such a good analogy.
Um, but yeah, that's really what we're talking here is it's that transmutation of energy from that really sticky, stagnant energy that's been locked in a cupboard to light that's very powerful, that then allows us to create what we want.
Oh, Emily, you've shared so much wisdom. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Just what would you think would be the top 3 tips out of everything you've shared that you would love entrepreneurs to, to share with other entrepreneurs in business?
Hmm, I've been thinking about this. Um, it's probably going to be different to what I was thinking about. I think the first thing would be to show up with authenticity. I think that that is such a huge key. Your authenticity is the most magnetic thing. It's what makes you who you are. It's what attracts the correct people
Mhm.
for you. It's what attracts the success and the achievements that actually feel regulated and joyful for you, and playful and fun and pleasurable. Uh, that would be my number one thing. And to also know that authenticity is something that's ever unfolding and it's actually a playful experience. It's not some set point that you reach. It's something that you get to uncover and unfold. So anybody who's going there, I don't know who I am. Just play. You'll figure work it out. Who you are today is not who you'll be tomorrow or even 5 minutes from now. So that would be my first one. My second one would be to not take it so seriously, to know that it is everything and at the same time it's not. We go into creating business and it's like this is everything. This is going to be like the thing that is going to change my whole life, or this is going to be the thing that is going to be the center of my whole world. The thing is that this moment in time is a blip. It's a little
Mhm, mhm.
blip in time, and the thing is when we can see it from a higher perspective, we can let go of the small stuff, the stuff that isn't as, important, and we can allow more play in. We can learn from our mistakes, we can learn from our, quote unquote, failures. Side note, there's no such thing as a failure. And we can learn from them. And I think that leads me into the third one, which is to play the long game. This is something that, again, it's very much like a part of my personality that I'm that like Aries sun. I'm like, I have an idea and I'm like, let's do it right now. And let's like figure it
Let's
out.
go.
And if it's not successful in 5 minutes, I'm like, what happened? Um, that's been such a beautiful learning for me is this patience piece. When you think you don't have time, you have so much time. Life is actually very long. We get told this notion of life is short. Be grateful and be present in the moment. And life is long. There is no point in time that you are going to need to have it all sorted out. There's no point in time where you will ever feel like you've got it all figured out or all sorted out. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to figure it out as you go along.
Mm.
And there's no end point, because the thing is, and this is so tied in with manifestation, is when you reach the point where you think that you got it, whatever it is, you will already be dreaming about the next thing
Mm.
before you even get there. And that's what that's part of who we are. We're meant to be continually expanding. Um, but just know that just take your time. It's okay for things to be slow. Um, because if you're doing things quickly and trying to rush and hustle at the expense of the relationship with your family or your children or your partner or your health or your own pleasure and joy, what was the point? You
Mm.
know, it, this is life is a long game. Yeah, that would be my third one.
I love it. Thank you so much. But I love what you were saying, that life is long. That is new programming that we all need to be embodying, rather than the programming of life. Life is short. Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all your wisdom and pouring love into all our listeners. How can people find you if they'd like to, come and check out your world? And I know you've got an incredible free gift. So tell us all the things, Emily.
Beautiful. So I have the best place to find me is on Instagram. That is just kind of my hub. That's where you will contact me the fastest and connect with me, and find my podcast, which you can find my podcast, which is Authentic Alchemy. And you have been on my podcast. Well, I don't know when this episode is coming out, and your episode on mine hasn't quite come out yet, but it may coincide perfectly
I
together.
just thought that'd be amazing if it did. We'd be like, oh, we're releasing it on the same day.
That would be very, very funny. But yes, on Instagram at I am Emily Bourke, and Bourke is Bourke. And my free gift is actually something new. So I've shifted it up a little bit, and I've put together 8, yes, 8 incredible manifestation practices that I personally use. They are my own kind of creations and adaptions of bits and pieces that I've pulled together that really bring together that concept of shadow alchemy, of that manifestation, and those kind of uh, manifestation processes and things that are so beautiful, especially when you're starting to get into this manifestation world and wanting a little bit more intention with it, that are infused with that real humanness and that shadow work integrated into them. And it's really what I wish that I had a little bit more of when I first started, when I'm like doing the affirmations in front of the mirror and I'm like, where's my $1 million?
Come on
So
already. Yeah.
yeah. So it's in a beautiful ebook that I will be gifting to you all.
Oh, thank you so much, Emily. That's a fantastic free gift as well. So we'll pop the links in the show notes so everyone can find it and download it and enjoy it. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. It's just
You're
been such a pleasure to chat with you, and I hope you'll come back.
Thank you so much. I've loved every second of this. This has been awesome.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Until next time, sending you all loads and loads of love. Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Infinite Prosperity Podcast. And if you like what you've heard and want to know more, please go to louisahavers.com. We just appreciate you so much. So thank you for listening and hanging out with us. If there's anything that we can do for you, you can email us at louisa@louisahavers.com. Let my team know if you have any ideas for shows that you'd love to hear or topics you want me to talk about. Really looking forward to hearing from you. All right, that is it for this week, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today. Looking forward to connecting with you again. Until next time, namaste.